Jrue Holiday ending up in Boston is one of the most important trades this season, and in this video, we'll discuss why. Welcome back to Hoop Vision, a basketball hub for true fans of the game. The basketball summer behind us was wild. The NBA Summer League, Damian Lillard trade drama, max contracts, Jokic weight rumors, Harden's feud with Philly, FIBA World Cup, so many stories that will impact the 23 and 24 season. However, if 6 months ago someone told you Jrue Holiday would be wearing the Celtics jersey, you'd think they were talking nonsense. Well, here we are, and Boston looks even more scary than the last year. Let's dive into basketball and see how this Eastern mess could play out. We all remember when news broke out on September 7th, ending the drama that had been following Dame Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers for months. He was sent to Milwaukee in a 3-team deal that resulted in Jrue Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, and a 2029 first-round pick landing in Rip City. However, Jrue was not a Blazer for long. Brad Stevens reacted quickly, and only 4 days later, Holiday was about to wear green again, only this time with another organization, Boston Celtics. The question at hand is, are the Celtics better now that Jrue Holiday is their point guard? Here's why the answer is positive. The thing about Jrue Holiday is he isn't the flashy point guard who can dunk over your center, but is nonetheless the guy who does things necessary to win. In retrospect, details seeming small at first can often be game changers, and Jrue is the player whose highlights are full of those. Important steals, assists, and bothered shots. All of them accumulate to make an impact much bigger than what's visible on the stat sheet. The Celtics have traded away 4 of their rotation players, Smart, Brogdon, Robert, and Grant Williams. This might sound like a step backwards, but from what we've seen in the first couple of games this season, Boston didn't have an issue compensating with their fresh new additions. For the sake of the point guard position, we'll just focus on comparing the roster before and after Marcus Smart, who'd be the one sharing minutes with Jrue if he hadn't been traded to Memphis. Regardless of how much we got to like him as one of the league's most tenacious players, Smart wasn't the point guard Celtics could rely on to run the plays consistently. Offensively speaking, Jrue Holiday is a much better solution than him in that regard, beating him in almost every category by a significant margin. Scoring, assists, three-point shooting, and several advanced stats point in Jrue's favor. Defensively, it's a fair argument that they had a slight downgrade at the position, but if we're being honest, who can match Marcus Smart's defense among the guards? The man was a defensive player of the year, the first one to do it since Gary Payton back in the 95 and 96 season. However, despite not winning the award, Jrue is also known for his defensive abilities and can be a huge asset for the team when games are on the line. When the bottom line is drawn, acquiring Jrue was a positive needle mover for the Celtics. In the current NBA landscape, Jrue Holiday matches up very well against many point guards from the Eastern Conference. For example, he and Lillard played against each other in 27 games, in which Jrue's team won 15 times and gave Dame some very difficult nights in terms of scoring the basket. Other point guards who will present a challenge in the East are Trae Young, Derek Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, and Ben Simmons, just to name a few. Despite them being very talented, Jrue has been able to hold his ground against the very best in the league for over a decade, and isn't someone who's known for letting his opponents get hot. The Western Conference might be a little tougher to guard, since there will be games in which he'll have to face monsters like Luka, Russ, Curry, Murray, and others. However, Jrue's 7 seasons with the Pelicans make him more than competent to be of great help against the Western teams. In 2 playoffs appearances with New Orleans, Jrue did not have much success since both times he had to go against the Golden State Warriors, who had their eyes on winning everything. Still, Jrue's contribution was more than respectable, and since then, he's evolved into the player who was one of the key ingredients for Milwaukee's title run. Considering Boston was only inches away from making 3 finals appearances in the last 5 years, maybe Jrue was the missing component to glue up the championship squad. Jason Tatum was criticized for some bad performances over the last couple of years, so maybe Jrue will be able to offer him some both on and off the court guidance. The fact Jrue likes to run the offense by setting high screens and either drive through the lane or do a drop-off will benefit Tatum in terms of getting more wide open looks and release him from the ball handling pressure. Celtics' other superstar, Jaylen Brown, already has a great off-the-court relationship with Jrue, which he's now looking forward to translate onto the floor. When he was just coming up into the league, Brown was looking up to Holiday as one of the established guards and respects him very much. Recent interviews show that chemistry won't be lacking in the locker room, as both Brown and the rest of the Celtics were super happy to have Jrue on board. Just like with Tatum, Jrue will take so much pressure off of Brown, allowing him to enjoy the game more freely and hopefully put an end to the left-hand jokes. Things are not funny anymore, especially now that the Celtics have the unicorn as well. After having a legendary opening night, Kristaps has shown the potential Brad Stevens saw in him and is getting more accustomed to new surroundings with each day. The pick-and-roll cooperation between him and Jrue has already been fruitful against the Knicks, Heat, and Wizards, so it will be interesting to see how their bond develops. develops, giving trouble to defenses all around the league. Jrue will feed him throughout the season with both wide open threes and off-the-pick layups, considering his experience with tall players who move well without the ball. Speaking of such players, one may pose the biggest threat for the Celtics championship hopes this year. Giannis and the Bucks got more firepower by landing Damian Lillard, but as we said in one of our previous videos, they've sacrificed some of their defensive abilities. Jrue's understanding of the enemy might play a big role in the Eastern playoffs, especially considering he was usually very good in the past when it came to guarding Dame. Now that he's no longer with the Bucks, he'll probably want to prove a point and get some kind of personal revenge against his former team. So Boston-Milwaukee matchups are guaranteed to be epic this season. The biggest difference between Jrue's and Dame's style is shooting, so the Bucks will utilize Lillard's range opposed to Jrue's driving abilities. When you look at things from a certain perspective, this trade gave both teams what they needed to be whole. Bucks got the perfect weapon for pick and roll with Giannis, while the Celtics got a point guard who can run the offense and let their stars excel at what they do best without expanding too much energy. Both franchises have amazing rosters, so their matchup is already conference finals worthy. There are other teams in the mix, of course, but for now, they're the ones promising the most. Speaking of promises, nobody can promise delivering a championship, but by the way Celtics and the Bucks have worked on improving their rosters this summer, they both deserve recognition from their fans, since no other teams were able to pull off such powerful moves. The Nuggets got criticized for not making enough changes from the last season, but we'll give them enough breathing space since there's a long way to go before they can debate whether that was the right or wrong decision. No other trade seemed as league-altering as these, so it's fair to say Boston and Milwaukee have made the season more interesting, since if Dame stayed in Portland and Kristaps and Jrue hadn't ended up with the Celtics, the balance within the conferences would have pretty much stayed the same. Boston's goal this season is nothing less than the NBA Finals. The big question revolves around their title aspirations. Do they have enough to compromise the reigning champs led by Nikola Jokic? If they happen to meet the Nuggets in the finals, can Jrue Holiday be the one to stop Jamal Murray and disrupt the harmony of the Joker squad? Even if the Nuggets get surprised by the Suns, Clippers, Lakers, or Warriors, there are still so many questions regarding Boston's chances to secure another title this season. The Celtics are absolutely stacked, but that's what makes the NBA so fun this year. Nobody can predict what will happen since there's so much talent on plenty of teams. At the end of the day, the Celtics may have gotten themselves a holiday, but they're yet to deserve one. That's it for today, dear friends. If you can think of any other aspects of how Jrue could impact the Celtics and the rest of the league, make sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. Since the NBA season has officially started, there will be plenty of new takes, news, and NBA stories, so make sure not to miss them by hitting the subscribe button. Until next time.